When you think you've reached the end, when the purpose is finally revealed, the feeling of gratitude will be indescribable. What once seemed like a journey filled with doubts, uncertainties, and moments of anguish now becomes a powerful testimony of how faithful God is, not only in fulfilling His promises but also in how He transformed you along the way. You'll realize that by waiting on the Lord, it wasn't just the promise that was fulfilled, but something greater. Your spiritual maturity, your unshakable trust, and a deeper understanding of His purpose in your life. The lessons learned during the wait will make you appreciate even more what God has done and is doing. Every effort, every tear, every prayer will be remembered with a smile, because now you know it was worth it. You'll see that the waiting time wasn't a loss, but an essential preparation. God was shaping your life, working in areas you didn't even realize. Today, looking back, you'll understand how perfect His plan is. And not only will you witness the fulfillment of the promise, but you'll also see your own transformation throughout this waiting process. This experience will be the foundation of your faith, and when new promises arise, you won't be afraid to wait anymore, because now you know with all certainty that what God promised He will fulfill. The trust you have in Him will be your greatest strength, and when you face new challenges, you will know you're ready for them, because the God who fulfilled His promises in the past will surely fulfill them again. So, at the end of it all, you realize that the true reward is not just the promise fulfilled, but the journey you've traveled to get there. The transformation that God brought into your life during the waiting process is what truly makes all the difference. What He promised, He has fulfilled, and that is proof of His eternal faithfulness. The promise that God gave you, even though it may seem delayed or distant, is coming. You're not just waiting in vain. Every moment of anticipation is part of His perfect plan, and He will not disappoint you. It may feel like time is dragging, but don't be fooled by appearances. God's timing is never late, it's always perfect. In the waiting, you're not alone. He's with you every step of the way, strengthening you, teaching you, and preparing you for what's to come. Even when it seems like nothing is happening, God is working behind the scenes. The seasons of waiting are not a sign of abandonment, but a sign of preparation. He's building your strength, resilience, and character. When God says He will do something, He means it. You can trust Him fully because He is not a man that He should lie. His promises are secure, and He will fulfill them. The waiting may test your patience, but remember that God is always faithful to His word. In time, you'll see how He's worked everything out for your good. Your faith will be tested, and your trust will be stretched, but it's during this time of waiting that God is shaping you into who He created you to be. The person you're becoming through the waiting is more important than the promise itself, and when that promise is finally fulfilled, you will realize it was worth every moment of the wait. Trust in His process, because God's plan for you is always better than anything you could have imagined. Even when it feels like the waiting is too long, know that He is preparing something greater than you ever expected. And when the time comes, you will stand amazed at how perfectly everything fell into place. You'll see that the waiting was not just a delay, but a crucial part of God's perfect design. God has never broken a promise, and He's not going to start now. Every promise He made to you will come to pass. His word does not return to Him void. It accomplishes the purpose for which it was sent. So, even when you don't see it happening, right away, trust that it's coming. You're walking in faith, and every step brings you closer to what He has prepared for you. Sometimes, it's easy to get discouraged and question whether the promise will ever be fulfilled. But remember, it's not about your timing, it's about His. God's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't line up with your expectations. Keep trusting Him because He's already working things out in ways you can't see. It may feel like everything is falling apart, but in reality, everything is falling into place according to God's plan. The challenges and struggles you face are not signs of God's absence, but evidence of His preparation. He's strengthening you, molding you, and preparing you for what's ahead. You are becoming more equipped for the promise He has for you, even if you can't see it yet. The waiting is not in vain. Every day that passes, God is drawing you closer to the fulfillment of His promises. It's easy to grow weary, but don't lose heart. Keep moving forward, keep believing, because God is about to move in a way you haven't imagined. What's coming is worth the wait. The breakthrough is closer than you think. Even though it seems like it's taking too long, the wait is part of the process. God is setting the stage for something bigger than you could ever have imagined. So hold on to his promises with faith and patience, because in due time he will fulfill every word he has spoken over your life. When you look at your circumstances, it can feel like nothing is changing. But God is at work behind the scenes, arranging everything for the right moment. You may not see the immediate results, but that doesn't mean God isn't fulfilling his promises. He is faithful to complete what he started in you. In moments of doubt, remember that God sees the bigger picture. He is not limited by time or space. What you may perceive as a delay is simply part of his perfect plan. Every moment of waiting is refining you, preparing you to handle the blessings he is about to pour into your life. There will be times when it feels like the promise is slipping further away. But God is never late. He is always on time. He has a plan for your life that is bigger and more beautiful than you can imagine. And when the time is right, you'll see it unfold in ways that will leave you in awe. As you wait for God's promises to come to pass, it's important to remain rooted in his truth. Keep your eyes focused on him, not on the circumstances. It's easy to be swayed by what you see or don't see, but God's word is the ultimate truth, and his promises are trustworthy. Your breakthrough is on the horizon, and the wait will make the victory even sweeter. Trust that God is working all things together for your good. His promises will stand, and he will deliver what he has promised. Keep believing, keep trusting, because your victory is coming, and it's going to be worth it all. The promises of God are not like human promises. They are unbreakable, certain, and full of hope. God never speaks words he can't fulfill. He's the creator of the universe, and his word holds immense power. When God says he will do something, you can be sure that it will come to pass. In times of waiting, remember that God's timing is always perfect. What feels like a delay might actually be the perfect moment for his will to unfold. Trust that he's preparing you, and when the time is right, you will see his promises manifest in your life in ways that will surpass all expectations. God is refining you through the wait. Sometimes the most challenging periods are the ones where you experience the most growth. You may not see it now, but every struggle, every hardship is shaping you for the future God has in store. His plans for you are greater than you can comprehend, and the waiting period is part of the process. When you feel like giving up, remember that God is faithful. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Even when it feels like you're alone in the battle, he's right there with you. Keep your heart aligned with his, and continue to trust in his perfect timing. Your patience will pay off. Don't lose heart during the wait. God's promises will come to fruition. They may take time, but when they do, they will bring more joy, peace, and fulfillment than you could have imagined. So hold on tight and know that the best is yet to come. The fulfillment of God's promises is not just a hope. It's a certainty. Even in moments of doubt when you can't see the end of the road, trust in God's promise. His faithfulness never wavers. There may be times when it feels like the circumstances are not aligning with his promises. But remember that God's truth is not dependent on what we see. His word is unshakable, and he is always working behind the scenes. It's important to remember that God's promises often come in ways that exceed our expectations. We might have an idea of how things should go, but God's plans are often far greater. Sometimes his fulfillment comes in surprising forms, opening doors we never thought possible and leading us to places we never imagined we'd go. In moments when you feel weary or discouraged, draw strength from God's past faithfulness. Reflect on the times he has come through for you before. His track record is flawless, and he doesn't change. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. What he has done in the past, he will do again. God also invites you to partner with him in the waiting process. It's not a passive waiting, but an active trust. While you wait for the fulfillment of his promises, he's calling you to continue, walking by faith. Each step you take in trust, even when the road seems long, brings you closer to the moment when his promises become a reality in your life. So don't lose sight of the future he has for you. God's promise is sure, and He is faithful to complete the good work He has begun in you. Keep your hope alive, hold on to His word, and keep moving forward. The best is yet to come, and when the fulfillment of God's promises arrives, it will be more than worth the wait. Even when everything seems uncertain and the promises feel distant, trust in God's perfect timing. He is never late, never early, but always right on time. The moment you least expect it, His promises will begin to unfold. It may not happen exactly as you envisioned, but it will be exactly as He intended. God knows what you need and when you need it, and His plan for you is always for good. During the waiting period, God is shaping you, preparing you, and refining you. This time of waiting is not wasted. Just like a potter carefully shapes the clay, God is working on you, molding your character and strengthening your faith. You might not see the changes immediately, but trust that He is at work within you, preparing you for what's to come. And when God fulfills His promise, it will be a testimony to His faithfulness and love. People around you will see the transformation, the answers to prayers, and the fulfillment of dreams. It's not just for you, but for His glory. The story of how He came through for you will be a powerful witness to others who may be waiting on their own promises. In the waiting, God is teaching you patience, perseverance, and trust. He's showing you that His promises are worth the wait. His timing is perfect, and His methods are flawless. Even when you don't understand what's happening, you can trust that He is in control, and His plan is unfolding exactly as it should, so hold on to hope. Keep pressing forward. Your victory is coming. When the promise arrives, it will be a testimony to His faithfulness, His goodness, and His love. Trust that what He has promised, He will surely bring to pass. The moment you've been waiting for is finally here. The promise that seemed so distant, the hope that felt impossible, it's all becoming a reality. You can see now that God's plan was never delayed. It was simply unfolding in His perfect time. The way He orchestrated every step, every moment of waiting has led to this moment of fulfillment. Looking back, it's clear that the waiting was not in vain. It was a process of growth, refining, and learning to trust. You now see that the challenges, the setbacks, and the struggles were all part of preparing you for this victory. God's faithfulness is evident in the journey, and His timing has proven to be flawless. As you step into the fulfillment of the promise, remember that this victory is not just about you. It's a testimony to God's power, love, and faithfulness. It's a reminder that He keeps His word and that His promises are sure. Others will see the transformation in your life, and they will be encouraged to hold on to hope, knowing that God will come through for them as well. Now it's time to celebrate what God has done. Thank Him for the strength He gave you to endure the wait, for the wisdom He imparted during the process, and for the promise He has now fulfilled. This is the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with greater faith, greater trust, and a deeper understanding of God's goodness. But don't forget, just because this promise has been fulfilled doesn't mean God's work in your life is done. There are more promises ahead, more victories to experience, and even greater things to come. Stay faithful, keep trusting, and remember that God will always fulfill what He has promised. The best is yet to come,